Tinfoil Chef, and I've been watching bad videos so you don't have to. First up today, we have a prime example of what some of the worst video in existence really is. The movie The Human Centipede by writer-director Tom Six is, in my personal opinion, perhaps one of the worst movies ever committed to film. It features the story of a retired German doctor that is an expert in separating conjoined twins. This doctor, however, has a strange fantasy up his sleeve. His dream is to create a human centipede. He does this by capturing a couple of girls from New York who are on vacation in Europe. They come to his house after being broken down nearby with a flat tire in a rainstorm. He later captures a third person, a Japanese man, who only speaks Japanese. And by the way, a lot of the dialogue in this film is in German with English subtitles. This doctor has them strapped down into hospital beds in his basement, and he provides a little slideshow talking about the procedure that he's going to do on them, in which he is going to stitch the three of them together into a single creature that he calls the human centipede, connected by way of the gastric system. And the way he does that is he takes the Japanese guy, the first girl has her mouth stitched to his rectum, and the second girl has her mouth stitched to the rectum of the first girl. The rest, as they say, is history. Very bad history. This movie wins prizes, in my opinion, for being one of the most disgusting film concepts ever filmed. And if that isn't bad enough, if that isn't sick enough, director Tom Six did another one, a sequel, The Human Centipede 2, in which a very disturbed, mentally ill person who is a fan, extremely fixated on the Human Centipede movie, decides to do his own version with 12 people. This guy is not a surgeon or a doctor or anything. He works in a parking garage, and he's the ultimate mental case. And the actor, by the way, pulls this off very effectively in a role that has almost no dialogue. He attacks his victims. His weapon of choice is a crowbar, and then very crudely attaches the people as they were in the movie, only a chain 12 long. And it proves that The Human Centipede was not the most disgusting movie in creation. The Human Centipede 2 is the most disgusting movie in creation. Both movies are rated a -1 out of 10. They are absolutely something you really don't want to watch. However, for the morbidly curious, links are provided in the description if you really, really want to go there. I strongly recommend you don't, and leave it at that. After watching these movies, not only do I regret wasting the time that it took to do so and allowing that imagery into my head, I had to do something a whole lot lighter. So I looked around and I found this third title, My Mom's a Werewolf. This movie, made in the late 1980s, is in the comic B-movie tradition of the 1950s, a la Teenage Werewolf and so on, in which a somewhat bored and unappreciated housewife stops at a pet shop to pick up a flea collar. She ends up meeting a guy that it turns out to be he is a werewolf. In this movie, the werewolf has a hypnotic capability, which ends up having her meeting him in his apartment later on. He ends up biting her on the toe, of all places. And then over the next several days, she begins to transform into a werewolf. There's a lot of comedy here, mountains and mountains of fluffy white werewolf hair, a really funny scene where she's trying to shave it all off of her legs and she comes up with mountains of hair, and so on. In the end, the situation does get resolved, and the very last scene, you find out that her daughter, who took out the original werewolf, is becoming one herself, leaving it open for a sequel, which I don't know if it was ever made, although it might be funny if it were. That movie, I'll give it a decent 6 out of 10. Compared to the other two, it is absolutely Oscar-winning material. there's any movies you'd like me to review, please let me know in a comment, PM, or on Twitter using the hashtag WatchingBadVideos. In the meantime, I'll be watching bad videos so you don't have to.